Electrical switches are rated according to the voltage and the current they can control. Aircraft electrical switches are rated by the amount of maximum voltage and current they can handle. Alternators, AC generators, that are given by the constant speed drive (CSD) mechanism are used to regulate the alternator to a constant Hertz output. Hertz output is determined by the speed at which the alternator turns. This determines the hertz, or cycle per second, that the unit will produce. Most large aircraft use 400 hertz. On-off two-position engine electrical switches should be installed so the on position is reached by a forward or upward motion. When the starter switch to the aircraft gas turbine engine starter generator is energized and the engine fails to rotate, one of the probable causes would be the starter solenoid is defective. Since the starter solenoid is used to close the circuit of the starting system when the starter switch is energized, then this would be the first component to suspect other than battery voltage. When a 28-volt, 75-ampere generator is installed on an aircraft, an electrical load analysis ground check is performed, and it is determined that the battery is furnishing 57 amperes to the system. With all electrical equipment operating, this indicates the load will be within the generator load limit. The load is within 80% of the generator capacity, which makes it acceptable. Most modern aircraft use circuit breakers rather than fuses to protect their electrical circuits. True. What is used to polish commutators or slip rings? Very fine sandpaper. Refer to Figure 2-6-1. In a 28-volt system, what is the maximum continuous current that can be carried by a single number 10 copper wire 25 feet long routed in free air? 35 amperes. A high surge of current is required when a DC electric motor is first started. As the speed of the motor increases, the counter EMF builds up and opposes the applied EMF, thus reducing the current flow through the armature. As the counter EMF builds up and opposes the amplified EMF, the current flow will be reduced. Which federal aviation regulation specifies that each resettable circuit protective device requires a manual operation to restore service after the device has interrupted the circuit? 14 CFR Part 23. What speed must an 8-pole AC generator turn to produce 400 Hz AC? 6,000 RPM. Multiply the frequency 400 by 120 and divide the number by the poles, 8, which gives you 6,000 RPM. Upon what does the output frequency of an AC generator, alternator, depend? The speed of rotation and the number of field poles. The number of poles is the fixed item after the manufacturer of the generator and does not become a variable, but the speed at which it is driven is the main factor with regard to frequency. What type of lubricant may be used to aid in pulling electrical wires or cables through conduits? Soapstone talc. Soapstone talc may be used to help pull wires through a conduit without adversely affecting the wire bundle. Arcing at the brushes and burning of the commutator of a motor may be caused by weak brush springs. Which federal aviation regulation requirement prevents the use of automatic reset circuit breakers? 14 CFR Part 23. Part 23 sets the criteria for aircraft manufacturing and does not allow auto reset circuit breakers. Circuit breakers must be reset manually. What is the purpose of a reverse circuit cutout relay? It opens the main generator circuit whenever the generator voltage drops below the battery voltage. Refer to Figure 2-6-1. The following data concerning the installation of an electrical unit is known. Current requirements for continuous operation, 11 amperes. Measured cable length, 45 feet. System voltage, 28 volts. Do not exceed 1 volt drop. Cable and conduit and bundles. What is the minimum size copper electrical cable that may be selected? Number 12. At 45 feet and 11 amperes, 28 volts, the plot point is just past the number 12 wire. You must always use the larger sized wire. The generating system of an aircraft charges the battery by using constant voltage and varying current. What is the frequency of most aircraft alternating current? 400 hertz. What is the maximum number of bonding jumper wires that may be attached to one terminal grounded to a flat surface? 4. This is the number of terminals that can be normally placed on the same terminal. As the flux density in the field of a DC generator increases and the current flow of the system increases, the force required to turn the generator also increases. Since the generator is producing more electrical power, it takes more force to turn them. The maximum number of terminals that may be connected to any one terminal stud in an aircraft electrical system is 4. Only 4 terminals are allowed to be stacked on one terminal. What are 2 types of AC motors that are used to produce a relatively high torque? 3-phase induction and capacitor start. These AC motors tend to have high torque. Which of the following is regulated in a generator to control its voltage output? The strength of the field. The field current of the generator is regulated to provide the correct voltage for the system. Generator voltage will not build up when the field is flashed and solder is found on the brush cover plate. These are most likely indications of an open armature. An open armature will cause no buildup of voltage, and the solder is an indication that the armature has overheated and melted the solder. What is the ampere-hour rating of a storage battery that is designed to deliver 45 amperes for 2.5 hours? 112.5 ampere-hour. Why is it unnecessary to flash the field of an exciter on the brushless alternator? Permanent magnets are installed in the main field poles. What precautions is usually taken to prevent electrolyte from freezing in a lead-acid battery? Keep the battery fully charged. One way the automatic ignition relight systems are activated on gas turbine engines is by a drop in compressor discharge pressure. Alternators rated in volt amps, which is a measure of the apparent power being produced by a generator, is true. Alternating current has the advantage over direct current in that its voltage and current can easily be stepped up or down. Electrical circuit protection devices are rated based on the amount of current that can be carried without overheating and wiring insulation. True. A trip-free circuit breaker makes it impossible to manually hold the circuit closed when excessive current is flowing. True. What is the smallest terminal stud allowed for aircraft electrical power systems? Number 10. It is recommended that a number 10 be the smallest terminal used. A typical barrier-type aircraft terminal strip is made of paper-based phenolic compound. A paper-based phenolic compound is widely used for terminal strips in aircraft. The barrier types refers to the barrier that is between each terminal. If the points in the vibrator type voltage regulator stick in the closed position while the generator is operating, what will be the probable result? Generator output voltage will increase. The points are used to control the voltage output of the generator. When they are closed, the voltage increases. When they are open, it decreases. If the points in the regulator are stuck closed, the voltage will increase. A term commonly used when two or more electrical terminals are installed on a single lug of a terminal strip is stacking. Electrical wires larger than 10 gauge use uninsulated terminals. True. When does current flow through the coil of a solenoid-operated electrical switch? Continually, as long as the control circuit is complete. Which of the following aircraft circuits does not contain a fuse/circuit breaker? Starter circuit. The current in the starter circuit is very high, and most of the conductors are short in length. Aircraft electrical wire size is measured according to the American wire gauge system. The most effective method of regulating aircraft direct current generator output is to vary, according to the load requirements, the strength of the stationary field. The strength of the field controls the output of the generator. If more output is needed, the field becomes stronger, more current flow, and the generator's output increases. What is a basic advantage of using AC for electrical power for a large aircraft? AC systems operate at higher voltage than DC systems and therefore use less current and can use smaller and lighter weight wiring. The resistance of the current return path through the aircraft is always considered negligible, provided the structure is adequately bonded. Aircraft copper electrical wire is coated with tin, silver, or nickel in order to prevent oxidation. When installing an electrical switch, under which of the following conditions should the switch be derated from its nominal current rating? Direct current motor circuits. According to the electron theory of the flow of electricity, when a properly functioning DC alternator and voltage regulating system is charging an aircraft's battery, the direction of current flow through the battery is into the negative terminal and out the positive terminal. Electron theory states that current flow is from negative to positive. Aircraft that operate more than one generator connected to a common electrical system must be provided with individual generator switches that can be operated from the cockpit during flight. Electrical circuit protection devices are installed primarily to protect the wiring. Why is a constant speed drive used to control the speed of some aircraft engine-driven generators, so that the frequency of the alternating current output will remain constant? What type of electric motor is generally used with a direct cranking engine starter? Direct current series wound motor. The stationary field strength in a direct current generator is varied according to the load requirements. A certain direct current series motor mounted within an aircraft draws more amperes during start than when it is running under the rated load. The most logical conclusion that may be drawn is the condition is normal for this type of motor. This condition is typical of this type of motor. It provides high torque but also requires high current flow at low speeds or when starting. After the motor is up to speed, it will reduce the current flow. What device is used to convert alternating current, which has been induced into loops of the rotating armature of a DC generator, to direct current? The commutator. How is the voltage of a DC generator controlled? The only way of practically controlling a DC generator with varying loads and speeds is by controlling the magnetic strength of the field, by controlling the strength of the field current. How many phases are used in most aircraft AC alternator systems? Use of 3 phases is the most common. How is the frequency of an alternator determined? The speed of rotation of the rotor and the number of poles determines the frequency of the alternator. How many different types of DC motors are there? There are 3 types: series wound, shunt wound, and compound wound. How does a turbine engine starter generator operate? It has 2 sets of brushes on a common armature that has 2 sets of windings. It first operates as a starter until the engine is able to accelerate, and then the second set of brushes and windings allow it to operate as a generator. How much slack should be allowed between supports for a wire bundle? There should not be over a 1/2 inch of slack between clamps or supports.